I just going to launch in on my own sweet time? Okay, hi. I am Patrick Rothfuss, and I am here to answer... No. It's your responsibility to ask questions to direct my ramble. Yeah.
Who's your favorite Doctor Who and why?
Oh, my favorite Doctor Who. Wow, going right for the throat here. You know, I watched a bit of Doctor Who when I was very young, and my mom actually knitted me the long scarf for Baker, you know, who your first love is kind of always your best love, even if it's not your smartest love. I'm a few seasons behind because I've been really busy with one thing and another. Yeah, really. And but if I really had to pick my favorite now, was it Eccleston that was before Tennant? Yes. He was better than Tennant. I'm sorry. I mean, he's just, I mean, Tennant's pretty, you know? It's like, who would I want to go out with? Well, Tennant might win that one. But, you know, Eccleston was an amazing actor. He sold me on that all the way through. And then somebody pointed out that if you watch, and I'm sorry to do this to you, but he said, if you watch Tennant, you realize that he expresses almost every emotion like this. And now that I've told you that, you're going to watch him and you're going to be like, ugh, I've just ruined like 4 seasons of Doctor Who for you. Yeah, I'd probably go with Eccleston. Not that I don't like Tennant, right? But Eccleston just had some amazing chops. So, yeah.
My friend pointed out that you look like Santa Claus. Did you know the joke nowhere to put without you?
I did not know. I don't tend to think Santa Claus, although the gray in the beard is getting a little more prevalent. I think of the commander of the Hawkmen in Flash Gordon. Yeah, if you've seen the movie, you're like, oh. For those of you that haven't, it's Brian Blessed. And I'm like, and you see pictures of him, and you're like, oh, yeah. I wish that I looked a little more like Brian Blessed. That would be a nice comparison.
You calling Tennant pretty made me think of this, but I know you're new to social media, and so you might not know like Woman Crush Wednesday and Man Crush Monday. Who would your Man Crush Monday picture be?
So what do I take? Do I just post up a picture of somebody that I have a crush on?
Man Crush Monday.
Now see, it's tricky because there are a lot of things that it's okay to do as a fan. That like once you become, because like I actually had a really funny blog written about Neil Gaiman, but now I kind of know Neil Gaiman. And like if I knew him really, really well, and like we got drunk together, and you know we'd like hung out at each other's houses, and I had thrown up on his couch that once. You know, if we were like really good friends, that's really a determining factor, is throwing up in somebody's house. Once you pass that, you know you're good friends. Then I could feel confident in like posting up this blog. If I didn't know him at all, and I was just like a real newbie author, I could post it there too, because he's not going to read my blog. But now we have met, and we've emailed, and he helps out with my charity, and I really like him, you know? Like, I kind of imprinted on him at an early age in my writing. I mean, really, like I read Sandman, and I'm like, oh, this is why everyone's been trying to get me to read it for 5 years. And I read Neverwhere, and I went, oh, okay, I did not know that you could do that in a book. And that's fine. That's what you're supposed to do as a reader, is just like geek out hard on somebody's stuff. But as a colleague, it's not as cool. You know, so if I were to like put up a picture, like Gaiman will see it. People will retweet it and say, hey, Gaiman, see what Rothfuss did. And you know, no, whoever I would pick, you know, whether it be Tennant or Gaiman or something else, I am new to some types of social media, but I'm learning that it changes a little bit. It hampers my ability to play. I mean, most anybody can go in and make some little joke in social media, and who's going to see it? Your friends. And they know you, and they know how to take that joke. I do not have that luxury. I can make like very earnest, sincere, kind comments, and statistically, someone is always going to be pissed off at me. I don't even have to stray into the dangerous realm of joke. So yeah, I will. That's my complicated way of saying I will probably.
Neil Gaiman.
It's Neil Gaiman. It's Neil Gaiman. I have a little bit of a crush on Neil Gaiman. Although if we're just talking about like who is hot, the guy that played Superman. Was not a good Superman, but whoo! Like when he comes up out of the water with his shirt off, I'm like, Superman. Hey, Superman, yeah. Sorry if that got weird.
Do you own a cheese hat?
I do not own a cheese hat. That's a good question. For those of you that don't know, I am from Wisconsin. In America, Wisconsin is like the land of cheese. And some of us embrace that willingly. I don't have a dislike for the cheese hat, but I'm not necessarily a hat person. Let's just leave it at that.
Have any of the characters in your books ever done things that you didn't expect and you didn't want them to do?
The question is, have any of my characters ever done anything that I didn't expect them to do? This is a tricky question because it plays into something that I like to think of as the myth of the author. There's a general cultural assumption that writers are somehow different from other people, and what we do as a profession is different from other professions. And while this is nice because it affords me certain, like people will cut me breaks that they would not cut other people in other professions, it's really not true. And so I like to debunk this myth of the author as much as possible. Like writer's block is part of the myth of the author, where authors, as you know, are kind of deific beings. We're connected with the divine in everyone's subconscious, and there's Jungian archetypal things going on with us, and we're inspired by muses, and we are mad and brilliant and passionate and perfect and that sort of thing. I mean, I'm assuming for other authors, this is the cultural thing that underlies what we think of as authors. And because that exists, we also have stuff like writer's block. We have a name for something which really does not exist. And because you have a name for it, everyone kind of assumes that it is a true thing. But the truth is, like, if you're a plumber and you wake up in the morning and you call your boss and you're like, "Oh, Jacob, I do not feel that I can plumb today. No, I'm blocked." Well, actually, that's weird with a plumber, right? But if you were a carpenter, right? If you were a carpenter, plumbers would have plumber's block. It would just be really a different thing. But like ditch diggers don't get to have ditch digger's block. It's just that sometimes they don't want to dig a ditch. Everybody's job is hard sometimes, but authors are the only ones to get to say, "Oh, sorry, blocked. I'm going to play Xbox." And that's not fair. It's really not fair. But here's the truth. Here's the secret. Like, if you are a ditch digger and you break your leg, you don't have ditch digger's block. It's just that you cannot do your job. Sometimes as an author, you can be hurt in your head. And we are really prone to a lot of types of mental illness. That's been statistically shown. Have you read those studies? They are creepy. They're creepy. The odds of an author killing himself is like 10 to 1 higher than other people in the arts. And I'm really curious to see what further studies bear out there. But like let's say you're going through a traumatic divorce. Someone in your life dies, you have a disease, whatever, that can do a number on your head, and it can make it impossible to write. To call that writer's block, though, moves it out of the realm of the rational and into the realm of bullshittery. Honestly, not to coin a phrase there, but and it's the similar thing with the characters that take over. Oh, my characters just took over. When I hear authors say that, I think about parents that say that about their kids. It's like, you've been in a restaurant and kids are running around and they're knocking over the fern and they're screaming and they're just like, oh, I just can't control them. I'm like, you can control them. You do your job as a parent and you control them. That is what you are supposed to do. And yeah, it's hard sometimes, and yeah, it's harder some days than others. Now, that's what I always used to think before I had kids. Now that I have had kids, I still think that. Because it is true. And as an author, yeah, sometimes things happen that you did not deliberately plan. Sometimes I go back and I read scenes and I'm like, wow, that was great. I don't remember writing that at all. But I'm not gonna attribute that to the muse or whatever. I did it. And if my characters did something in there, it's still my responsibility. If they're good, I'm gonna take credit. If they misbehave, I'm going to take credit. I can't blame either one of those on somebody else because it just doesn't seem fair to me. Yeah.
What's your deepest irrational fear?
My deepest irrational fear? Is that it? I would argue that all fears are irrational. Otherwise, they're concerns. Like if you're swimming and you're worried about a shark, if you're in the ocean, it's rational. If you're in a pool, that'd be irrational. But I'm nitpicking in the semantics there. But hey, hi, my name's Pat Rothfuss. I'm a writer. I don't go in for fear so much. I go in for anger a lot, irritation and rage at the world. And I'm anxious about things in the world that aren't going the way that they would if I were in charge. But I think those are very rational concerns as opposed to irrational fears. Occasionally, I'll with my kids, some of it'll ping up, and I think, what if? And then I'll go down that road. But then I rein that in pretty quickly. I much prefer rational things because then I can plan for those. I'm not dodging it. I really can't think of a funny, rational fear. Yes?
So, do you have either in reading or in watching a guilty pleasure, something that someone who knows you doesn't really think that you would enjoy, that doesn't really match with you, but you really enjoy it, but it doesn't match with your whole, personality as other people perceive it?
My brand. Do I have any guilty pleasures or things that I enjoy that would not fit in my brand? I don't believe in guilty pleasures either. I just like pleasures. And if I like something, as any of you who have read my blog or seen me on Facebook, I am going to talk about what I like. And I'll make fun of the things that I don't. Now, things that I like that might be surprising to people that haven't read my blog. No. I wonder what I could say that I like that would surprise any of you.
Even yourself sometimes, something that you've done and surprised you that you didn't expect to like.
Yeah. I really can't think of anything. Part of it is the fact that I have not watched any TV in almost 5 years. I started to watch Castle because it has Nathan Fillion in it. And I met Molly, his daughter, so I'm like, I'll give this a try. But that's not a surprise. That's good storytelling. That's that's not going to surprise anyone. Hudson Hawk. I really liked Hudson Hawk. There. And the few of you that watched that movie 20 years ago and you thought that it was awful because everyone thinks it's awful, there's the skeleton in my closet, Hudson Hawk. I enjoyed it.
Who do you think would win in a fight, a bear or a shark?
Sam Sykes already asked me this question. and it lasted. My answer lasted over 40 minutes. So I'll pass on that one.
If the Pat Rothfuss bid was an item in an RPG, what stats would you get?
Oh, okay, that's a new one. Do I get to pick the RPG? Okay, then it would be in the champion systems, it would be, they have disadvantages you can buy called distinctive feature. So like, normal, because if you're an adventurer, you're running around and you get in trouble or somebody's trying to find you, having a distinctive feature is kind of a pain because like, oh, it's the guy with the scar, and then everybody, the bounty on your head is really easy to collect. It would definitely be distinctive feature. Like, I know a lot of authors who sell way better than me just don't get noticed on the street like I do. Yeah, and I do. I kind of get noticed an awful lot. I have a look. Yeah.
What's your best drinking song?
My best drinking song? Actually, I don't drink. I mean, sorry, that might be the big surprise, the guilty not pleasure. I will occasionally drink to be social, but it doesn't do much for me as a drug. I've got like maybe 6 inhibitions, and they're all really important. Those are serving a real purpose in my head. It's not like I've got 150 and I need to winnow some out to have a good time. There's very few things that I would do drunk that I wouldn't do sober, as people who read my blog can probably attest to.
What do you think about having time traveler readers?
Time traveler readers, the people that have read my review of book 3 on Goodreads, where like hundreds and hundreds of people had gone in and reviewed my book. Not just given it a star rating, but written reviews. And I'm like, wow, and mostly they were good reviews. I'm like, thank you for your confidence, your assurance, your blind devotion. I don't know what that is. But yeah, the joke is that time travelers really enjoy book 3, which is nice. That's reassuring that it turns out good eventually.
Do you have a favourite Robin Williams movie?
Oh, favorite Robin Williams movie. It's hard to pick, but I've really wanted to watch Hook. I was actually thinking about Hook yesterday before I got the news, thinking that I'm really making a lot of the older Peter's mistakes. Like, I traveled way too much this year. I did way too many cons. And I've got like 2 really great kids that just want nothing but to spend time with me. And so I was thinking about that, and that's part of the reason that the news hit me really hard yesterday. I'm in the Minneapolis airport just crying. And nothing is sadder than a big fat beardy man crying. Yeah, that was rough.
What's your favourite thing to teach?
Yeah. Favorite thing to teach? Writing is easy. Like, if people come to me interested to learn about writing, that's easy because I've got a lot of opinions about it. But honestly, I just like teaching, like anything. I like sharing information, I like discussing things and having discussions. I used to hold symposia back before my life got too busy. It would just be bring interesting people together and let's talk about stuff. If somebody comes through my signing line and I see that it's a couple and the woman is pregnant, I say, "Your first baby?" And they're usually, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Okay. All right, can I give you a few pieces of advice?" And they're usually polite enough to say yes. And I'm like, "Okay, here's the things you really got to know that you might not have picked up in other places." So yeah, I'm wired to teach, which is a bit of a shame that I've had to walk away from it at the university.
Based on the blog and the stories about Oot, do you think that Oot will become an author himself?
I don't know. I think one of the best things my parents ever did for me was not expecting me to do or be anything. I didn't realize what a kindness that was at the time. And because of that, I went to school and I wandered around and was truly directionless and clueless and learned a bunch of interesting stuff. And then eventually, focused more on being a writer and being a professor. And I don't think my life would have been improved by them really wanting me to be a doctor. And so I don't want to lay anything like that on him. I hope that he is a bit of a geek, because that would make my life a little bit easier. I have a friend who's a particle physicist, and he had one kid that was a beautiful little girl. Then he had another kid that was a little boy. And we're sitting there. This was before I had kids. And he's sitting there, and we're talking about one thing and another and talking about his kids. And then he goes, what am I going to do if he grows up to be like a gay football player? And I was kind of like, whoa, wow, that's kind of, that came out of nowhere. I'm like, I know Randy. Randy doesn't have a thing about gay people. I mean, it made me like really question where, and he's just like, what are we gonna talk about? And I'm like, oh, okay, right. Because that's like his diametrical opposite is a gay football player. It's like, if you're not into science and you're not into girls, like how can we connect? And I think about that sometimes. I picked Jim Butcher's brain because he like LARPs with his kid now. Do you guys read? I mean, are the Dresden Files fairly big over here? Who's read Dresden Files? Boy, you're missing out. Some of the finest storytelling ever. I'm listening to his audiobook right now for like the 7th time. But I asked him, how did you bring him up? And he's like, played games with him early. And so I do that with Oot. But then if he wants to be a writer, I'll do my best to not screw that up for him.
Considering how much reviewing of your own stuff you do you ever get the urge to, like, if you read other people's stuff, sort of fix it?
Oh, yeah.
What's your, is there a big thing that you might want to talk about?
Oh, no, it's not, well, one, yeah, sure, actually. If you're writing, and you're doing multiple points of view, you only get 3. If it's your first book, you get 3 point of view characters. That's it. I'm serious. Because I've read a bunch of these books. I read first manuscripts, I critique them, sometimes for my charity, sometimes as a favor to a friend of a friend. And I'm like, you've got like 9 point of view characters. And I didn't understand why until I read Game of Thrones. And I'm like, oh, of course. But George Martin knows what he's doing and you don't. I mean, that is not a joke. That is not a joke. George has like been in the craft mines for 30 years. And so if he wants to have 9, 12, 18 point of view characters, he knows how to do that. Just starting out, 3. If you want, you can mail me specifically and fill out a form to apply for a 4th point of view character. But otherwise, no. And most of those applications are refused. But no, it is a problem because when I'm in the midst of like heavy revision, everything that comes across, it's like throwing a book into a wood chipper to put it in my head, for me to just pass my eyes over it. And it's really gauche to like read someone's debut novel, ARC, and then be like, oh, there's just 3 things in here that would help so much. I can't call them. It's like, maybe they have time to make these changes before it goes to press. That's not cool. You can't do that.
Is it like a big thing and something that we would know? And you were like, well, I like Game of Thrones, but if only something. Or like, is there a big thing that you can think of?
Well, have you ever had a friend who had like a kid and you questioned their parenting and then you talked to them about it and then you talked about it in front of a room of 300 people on camera? Oh, you haven't? Oh, I wonder why you wouldn't do that. I don't know why you wouldn't do that all the time.
How not a stranger's kid, though.
I don't have strangers. I have colleagues at this point, and it would be exceedingly gauche to like say, but those Martin books are pretty good, except for like this list of 15 things. Yeah, of course, we all read each other's stuff, and we all have different takes on the craft, but I would need to be a much better friend with him. It's like, and if like me, I'm trying to think who else. Like if me and Scalzi were up here, it's like I would hold forth. I would go back and forth with him about like, we could pick on each other's books, and that would be a blast because we're good friends and we could both take it. But these other, no, it's not a cool thing. Downstairs I read a review of a book that I hated, but the only reason I wrote that review is because Roald Dahl is dead. I mean, you just don't say bad things about other authors' books. It's one of the things you learn. It's one of the very first things you learn as a pro.
Didn't mean bad necessarily. Just...
It's hard for it to come off as anything but bad. I think I'm at time. They flashed up that 5-minute sign a little while ago. If anyone has like a really, really pressing one and it's short, I could try to do it fast. Oh yeah.
What's the best practical prank you've ever played?
Louder, please.
The best prank you've played?
Oh, that is not a short question. And it's something that I would need to check, like statutes of limitations, before I went on camera with. I've had a storied pranking career.
Star Trek or Star Wars?
You don't need to only eat apples or oranges. Nah. I don't want to pick between those. I think that is about time. Thank you so much for coming.